2xKO's closed beta is finally here. And that means there's much to be explored, and you might be feeling stuck on where exactly to start. What character should I play? Is this character right for me? How do I get started with the character? What's this character's overall game plan? And hopefully by the end of this video, you have a better understanding of who to play in 2xKO. The cool thing about a fighting game is there's a wide variety of characters that appeal to many different people. Some characters are brawlers, some characters are grapplers, some characters like the zone, some characters are very mobile, some characters are more technical, some characters are more easy. So we'll go over that, but I also want to rank the characters by just how easy they are to pick up for new players. In general, some characters require more precision, their game plan's not as obvious, or it's just harder to execute, and that's okay. Eventually, everyone kind of filters to the same spot, and if given enough time, you can master any character. My advice is always the same to someone learning this game or any fighting game. Pick the characters that you like. Even if they're hard, eventually the extra motivation you have playing a character you like will win out on choosing the easy road to victory. But that being said, let's get to ranking these characters. And I'm gonna start off the easiest character on the list, Darius. And you might be asking, what makes a character easy? So I think it's a few things, right? Having a really simple game plan, having really easy specials to use, and being able to unlock most of the potential of a character right off the bat. So compared to someone like Yasuo, who has to do all the stance cancel stuff and has pretty difficult combos, or Jinx, who has to have 200 IQ plays to make their zoning effective, Darius, his tools are very straightforward right off the bat. He has really good buttons. So this button from Darius, very, very strong. So the reason this button is good is because it leads into a few different follow-ups. For example, if you just want to safely chunk their health away, you can do his S2, S2. Which goes really far, pushes them back full screen, is safe on block, and puts them in this bleed state. Which means that if you just do like any block string, it chunks their health. You see how much damage that took, all from block damage? But he has some other good follow-ups, like doing his S1. Now this move at high level isn't that great, because a good player will be able to react to this and parry and get a full punish. But against new players, this is the noob killer, because when you land this S1, you basically get a free 50-50. You either do the light follow-up, which is an overhead and safe, and gets you a combo. You can do a very basic combo like that, and you basically just did almost half their health. Speaking of health, some of the easier characters have more health in the game, so Darius, Illaoi, so which means you can make more mistakes, which is also really nice. And then the other follow-up is you have the bleed follow-up, which is pretty good. You do the command grab follow-up with heavy, and then you can just do another super, and you just did a third of their health. If you have double down, you can combine another super, and you do even more of their health, right? So this is very, very strong with Darius, but it's not the only thing he has that's strong. In fact, this is one of the most obnoxious players in the game for new players to deal with. This is the only, I wouldn't say the only, but it's the best meterless reversal in the game. So this has armor, which means that if the Darius player is doing something like the string, you can just mash the armor and get a free hit. Oh, and by the way, this also cancels in the super, and you do a third of their health. Very, very strong, especially against new players. Now this does have some disadvantages. For example, like if I do like a quick hitting attack, like this 2L, 2L, it'll beat out the armor, they get a full combo, and then you die. But generally this is very, very strong. And it is punishable on block too, so you can't even cancel in the super, so it does have some disadvantages, but this is very, very strong, especially at low level. I mean, Darius has some other good tools, like for example, they gave him a fireball that you could just kind of do a neutral and then like just run up and like smack them and do the same thing and repeat over and over. He has some pretty good jump normals, so a lot of new Darius players, like if you just do just jump forward, charge JH. So for example, I could do this, and then they're plus 31, which means you can just run up and do a combo. He also has a really far-reaching low, which is this down forward heavy. This hits low. So a lot of people like to spam retreating guard and block stun. You can do this, clip the low. Where a lot of characters can't really like hit retreating guard from this far, right? You can't really force a low block from this far on the screen. Just extremely privileged. And this character also has an overhead that's, in my opinion, really hard to see. And of course, you could just combo with assist and you get the idea, get a full combo. So this character has a lot going for it. And I think he's great for beginners. So a couple recommended things that you should learn of Darius outside of the stuff we showed. Her just down forward heavy, combos into forward S2, and you can get a super. And just a general basic bread and butter. And then you just go for air combo ending in JS2, and you get a lot of corner carry. Right, so Darius, strong. Think of it as like a bruiser character. If you really want to disrespect your opponent and be hard hitting and have just really good normals and pretty good mix up and the best reversal in the game, Darius is probably for you. All right, so Illaoi is another character I think is very easy to play. The reason is she's doesn't have too much to do in neutral, right? You have okay buttons, like this button's okay, this button's okay. Most of her mediums are okay, just to swing and then buffer in the 5H. You also have this move, her forward S1. This move is actually insane. It destroys projectiles, it combos into itself, right? So you can just do 2 hits of their forward S1 on block, and then you don't have to worry, you're not going to get punished. It's still pretty easy to, you can just back away safely, or you can like call your assist, or you can like go into the 3rd hit, call assist, and then continue pressure, right? So these tools make her really strong. And in the most recent version, they add this down S2. So this down S2 is like a tentacle. It hits low, it spawns a tentacle, and you can charge it and it goes full screen, which is absolutely crazy. Basic thing is like if you do an attack like her forward S1, the tentacle spawns and it lets you get some like pretty advanced combos and that sort of thing. Don't worry about that for too much. The only thing you should really worry about is if you have a tentacle on screen and you do a throw, the tentacle will spawn and you can get a pretty easy combo after that, right? That's it. That's how you play Illaoi. Her combos are pretty basic, right? So for example, after you do like forward S1, S1, you always get her S1 super too. And there's a lot of cool shit you can do with the tentacles. So for example, let's say I just hit the Rekka, and I do the S1 super. If I hold the S1 super, it repositions the tentacle on top of them. And then, you know, you can obviously use that for tomfoolery, right? This character is really cool. A couple other really neat things about her. I think she has she also has a pretty high skill ceiling because she has this super that causes tentacles to spawn. And then you can get like really cool corner pressure. You can get really cool mix-ups. This team, especially Illaoi Darius, for example, you can put the bleed effect on them with Darius and then use the Illaoi tentacles to keep constantly chipping and create like some crazy block strings, right? So let me show you what that looks like. So here's an example of something really cool. Again, this game's still new. People are finding ways to optimize this. So this is from Ab again, really strong Ultimate Marvel player, is you can do stuff like this where you pop them down into the tentacles. That's an example relaunch combo. And then you can use the tentacles and continue the combo. Blitzcrank can actually land 3 supers using the tentacles. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this character at a high level, right? So this is from an actual match showing an example chip sequence. Right, so the idea is you go into this tentacle super, you have the Darius bleed effect on him, and you just oppress them. He didn't even get hit. That was just all block. I actually think this team right here, Darius Illaoi, is probably like, if I had to say team scrub, or like if you just want to start winning right away, this is probably the team to play. My recommendation still is to actually start with Juggernaut or Sidekick, because learning 1 character in this game, especially if you're brand new, is a lot easier than learning 2 characters. But I do think in terms of like easy to get to like an intermediate advanced level, I do think this is the easiest team in the game to do that with. So really easy combo with Illaoi. You just go down S2 and then down S1 and then run up and get a launch, and then you can end in your super your choice. So play Illaoi if you want a hard-hitting bruiser that has technical depth with their tentacles. All right, so you might be noticing a trend here with the next 2 characters on screen. Braum and Blitzcrank. Now, I basically chose all 4 of the big bodies to be easiest characters, and that's not a surprise, right? Big body characters generally are slower, they're less technical, they're easier to control, right? Braum and Blitzcrank I do think are a little harder than Darius, and Illaoi for a couple different reasons. Braum has a couple things going for him, right? His back S2, this is one of the best specials in the game. The reason is you do back S2 and you call an assist and you basically protect the assist. So for example, I do shield plus assist. This combination is very, very strong, right? I try to run up, I try to do something, I just get hit, and then that's actually leads into a full combo. So because this shield is so dominating and so strong, a lot of people think of Braum as an assist character, right? Because even though he's out on screen, he's really enabling your assist to go out there, do damage, and swap into them, right? So really, he enables the partner, because if you don't have a partner, this move becomes useless, right? So he's a little weird, because if you want to play solo, if you want to play like Juggernaut or Sidekick, this might be the worst character to choose for that. I legitimately think Braum Juggernaut or Braum Sidekick is the worst combination. It's just because Braum is meant to be played with a partner, right? So if you are looking to play just one character, maybe don't try Braum as just that one character. Try Darius Illaoi if you're really looking for that edge as a beginner. But he has a couple other things going for him. He has this, what we call unbreakable state. And you can tell he has unbreakable state because his shield is now blue. It looks like it's like covered in ice. And this enables a lot of things. So for example, I just armor through it and I get a full combo. So prioritizing this unbreakable state is really important. And you can do that in a lot of these different situations. So for example, I do this. I have unbreakable and now Blitzcrank is in. And I get to do Blitzcrank things. And now that Braum is unbreakable, I have access to one of the best assists in the game. Unbreakable Braum neutral assist. This thing is crazy. Not only does it wall bounce, not only does it go through projectiles, but it just hits really, really fast, right? This thing is insanely scary for the opponents to deal with. Has a ton of block stun. It's very, very good. Your win condition is basically throw a shield, get a hit, go into unbreakable, and let your other character do all the work. But even on point, he does have some really good things, right? So for example, he has a command grab. This command grab is really scary. Because unlike some other grabs in the game, you do command grab and you mash the shit out of S1 super and you just did almost half their health. So his mix-up is really, really strong because of that, right? He also has an overhead. This overhead's not the best, but really, as long as you're just relying on the command grab or just attacking them, trying to hit a jump or something like that. The other cool thing this character has is this down forward heavy punch, also really good for catching retreating guard. So you can mix up between down forward heavy punch or something like go into command grab. So pretty basic game plan. He also has a pretty good jump normal. I really like this, his down heavy jump heavy punch is really good just to like jump in and get cross ups. So for Braum, because he doesn't have that much to do besides like shield plus assist, and you know, swing these like medium normals, I like to jump with him a lot too and try to like set up a command grab opportunity because his command grabs are just so good to land. A really basic bread and butter of Braum is you can do something like this, go into the Poro 5H and then go into Unbreakable. The main key with Braum though is you want to end your combos in this unbreakable state, and he doesn't do that much damage compared to other characters, but when he hits unbreakable he gets a lot more damage opportunities. A lot of his move properties change. So for example, S2 brings him to the wall. His S1 now becomes a projectile that freezes and gets you a full combo on hit. You get the idea. But even when I was playing Braum, I didn't really need to know all the specific unbreakable tech. You use them as a shield plus assist kind of bot, and it's really, really strong. Oh, down S2, this move also gives you unbreakable. Another cool thing about unbreakable, if you do the command grab, it freezes, and you get a full combo from this too. I don't know the combo, but you get the idea. This did so much, and it gives you unbreakable at the end as well. So play Braum if you're looking for essentially a support character that's hard hitting and also has a command grab. All right, so Blitzcrank, I think this character is cool. I've been playing him a lot, and he has a few things going for him. One, he has a steam gauge at the bottom left-hand corner. The steam gauge is pretty good because once you fill it up, either through charging your S1 or doing the S1 super, which on hit grants some steam, it gives you a couple different things. One, if you ever do his S1, you get this electricity pop up and you get a crap ton of damage from the combo, right? I messed with the combo, but you get the idea that almost did half health, right? The other thing it grants is it gives him armor on a command grab. So his command grab is pretty cool. But if you do a steam, you have this like little bubble and you get armor. So if they hit just like Braum, they'll hit the armor, you'll go through, you get the command grab. There's a couple cool things, especially with his command grab, right? So if you do down S2, it's a command grab, just like Braum, but I think his command grab is actually, it's better and worse than Braum's. In terms of reward, it's worse than Braum's because unlike Braum, you can't just do a super after, right? So you see how it pushes him too far back, the super whiffs. So you only get a super in the corner, at least currently. This might be something that might like change in a future patch. But you have many opportunities to land the command grab. One of the cool things you can do is this forward S2 is like this like rapid punch move. It's kind of just safe to throw out. It's also used in some combos. But you can cancel the startup of this into his down S2. So here's what a normal down S2 looks like. And if I cancel the startup of forward S2 into down S2, you see how far forward he goes? So which means you can do cool stuff like this. And you get the command grab. So even after a few moves, he's still able to command grab you, which means that he has a lot more mix-up. Another thing that makes him much more of a mix-up monster than Braum, full scream arm, which obviously this goes like really far. So you would think like, oh, this has to be like their turn on block. It's actually your turn. And the mix-up is you either do 5L, which stops jump out, it stops mashing, or you do this command grab, which beats blocking. And again, you can do block strings that, so you can do something like a normal, and then do a command grab. So the mix from this character, especially solo, is insane. It's very, very good. So compared to Braum, which you can't only get that one command grab opportunity and the command grab slower, right? But of course, you don't have the shield like Braum does, which is very, very strong and kind of centralizes his gameplay. A couple other really cool things Braum can do. You have this wrecking ball as jump S2, which you can do stuff like call Braum, tag in, and now if you hold S2, he still stays in the wrecking ball and you get like a lot of pressure off of it. It's one of my favorite things to do with Blitzcrank. He also has an up arm, right? So like a lot of people will try to and pull him back down to the ground. You get the idea. So really cool stuff you can do with him. The reason I put this character in medium compared to easy is that he's just a little hard to pilot in neutral, right? So one of the strongest things in this game are just doing jump, tag, assist. And he has a hard time dealing with that because, again, his best tool is, is a move that loses the jump, right? So he's kind of a hard time dealing with that. Yes, of course, you can anti-ref 2H just like any other character. But I find that in combination with, you know, he's not the fastest character. He doesn't have like great anti-zoning. He doesn't have like great buttons like compared to Darius or Illaoi that can just swing their Rekka or their medium. He doesn't have that exactly the best buttons to throw out either. I find him a little harder to play in neutral, and you have to really work with a teammate to make him effective. So one thing I forgot to talk about Blitzcrank is his assist is, in fact, in my opinion, one of the best in the game. His back assist. This is a clip from Sonic Fox, one of the best players in the world. He does the Blitzcrank assist to restand, which normally they go on the ground and they can roll out and they can do all this crazy stuff. The Blitzcrank assist forces a restand, and now you get a crazy mix like this. And so this actually, if you see here, the combo reset because of the Blitz assist, and that actually crossed up. So if you didn't block that and you don't have burst, you're dead. I think both these characters can kind of fit in any kind of team. I think Braum, you want characters with really good assists. So I think of a character like Ekko. I think of a character like Darius. I think of a character like Illaoi. I mean, realistically, you can make them fit with most of the cast. The same thing with Blitzcrank. I think Blitzcrank wants a character on point that makes really good use of this assist and then can do a really good mix up after it. But that seems to be most characters in the game. You can basically do a launcher into this body splash move. If you slightly charge the body splash, he still glows red and you get a ground bounce. So you do that, and then you just relaunch into something, into JS1, and you get about 500 damage, you get and then super 2. So play Blitz if you want a character that's really reliant on mix-ups, both enabling your partner for mix-ups and also having really good grappler mix-up on point. But I think of it as like her, she's like a mobile like boxer type, right? She has this really pronounced sway move, and the sway cancels into a couple different follow-ups, and so she's really mobile. She also has this S1 move that you can like pair behind the assist and then get a combo off of. So she's really disrespectful. She's really good at playing neutral. Also has really good throw mix-up too, because both of her, she has a throw from the sway that grants you a combo into OTG, and she also gets a combo off her normal throw, right? Which not every character gets. Vi's whole goal is to get in there, call assist, and then do a good strike throw mix-up. That's mostly it. Her main user tools, S1 plus assist, I think is very, very strong if you have a teammate that can combo after the S1. But even just doing sway in neutral into the light follow-up, really good, because you can get a full combo off of it. Just doing something like that, very basic, and gets you tons of corner carry. But the really cool thing about this character is all of her follow-ups after the S1 can be charged. And when you charge a follow-up, it grants you additional actions. So for example, after the regular forward S1 light follow-up, I can't do anything other than cancel the medium or heavy. But if I charge it, I can do another sway, I can do forward sway, I can do forward back sway, forward sway into grab. You get a lot more options. So this character is really good if instead of like forcing 50-50s like Blitzcrank, for example, you really want to like condition your opponent to get away with mix-ups, right? Because in order to get away with something like this, you have to force them to sit still and not mash, which I think is a little harder for people to do. But it's really rewarding because you can get the grab and you can do really cool combos. Not to mention you can also just sneak in a grab, and it'll sometimes beat mashing as well, especially if your opponent has slower normals. The other thing that I think people think this character might be hard is because these electrics, while you just hold the button, if you release the button at the right time, you can actually make the electric faster. As you see, if this electric here is 32 frames, but if I only do a partial hold, which is hard, see that was 31 frames, that was 30 frames, and that was 28 frames. So you can actually make the electrics quicker, which enables some really cool combos. Like this. And if you're really sweaty, you can get like 3 electrics, you can do a bunch of other cool stuff. I just want to turn with this character, and I can't even do any of that, right? So it's not really necessary to do this kind of stuff if you're learning her right off the bat, right? She also has a couple other things going for her. Down S1, and this is also a really good reversal. I don't think it's quite as good as Darius's, but it's up there. So again, if the opponent is doing some bullshit, like they're just doing you get the idea? Buys in your ass doing this kind of stuff, you can just mash down S1, and you can get a decent combo. Go into super, and if you have double down, you can combo down to something else. You can call assist, continue combo. You get the idea. Now it's not fully invincible. Like on frame 1, you can't just spam it, and on whiff it is death. But it's just having those options in this game, a game that's really oppressive, is really, really nice. A couple other cool things this character has. Jump down S2 is like this really neat cross up that thunder shocks them, and then you can get a combo off of it that I still am not quite good at. But you can get some pretty good damage off of it. And then the down S2, this is a really good off the ground. So anything like Vi's forward heavy punch, that's an overhead. You can do down S2 and then combo it into super. And she has a couple other moves that are combo tools like this S2 that I don't really use that much. But if you want like a really easy combo, you can combo into the S2. And the not really neat thing about it is you can actually mash these moves. So you see if I don't mash it, it's 4 hits, but if I really mash the shit out of it, it's 12 hits. It does even more damage, and I get extra damage on my corner carry combo. So my recommendation of this character is don't focus on the electrics at first because they are hard. The combo I've been doing has 1 electric, so I still drop it sometimes. But I think it's pretty good for corner carry. The heavy one's easy. And then I just go into something like this and I get a lot of corner carry, right? But if you want to keep things really easy, just go into this S2 move and then do the same route here. This actually does more damage. So it's pretty good. Another notable thing about Vi is she has one of the best off the ground supers. So for example, I can call Vi assist, OTGs off the ground, and I can get a combo. Play Vi if you want a character that's really fast and has really impressive pressure and has good ways to skip neutral, but also has some technical flair once you get used to her. Okay, chat, I'm gonna need help with this character. What the fuck do I talk about for Ahri? So chat has told me that you should play Ahri if you're a Gooner. That's all I got for you guys. All right, real talk. This character does some pretty cool stuff. The main thing that sticks out to me about Ahri is this S1. So she kind of has a fireball. So I want to call her like a pseudo zoner. She's not a true zoner, but she's really good at running away and like just maintaining space. So doing stuff like this, really hard to get around. Doing stuff like S1, very hard to get around. This is actually very obnoxious for new players to deal with. And you just do like something like this, call assist, you get the idea, and then if your assist like is blocked, you can just run away, wait for your assist to come back, do it again, and then, you know, do good mix. And she has some really cool stuff you can do off this. S1, forward S2, call assist, go for a mix up, then go for extension. She has some pretty neat stuff, but it really, her gameplay starts off of a really good movement, right? You look at this air dash is crazy. Just distinguishing between something like this, distinguishing between something like that, distinguishing between something like this, going for an air dash. She has a lot of different movement options, and you can use these to try to condition your opponent to not anti-air you, right? So anti-airs in this game are pretty strong because it's just one button and it leads into a lot of damage. But if you get to whiff or you get them to block, you can take your turn or potentially get a combo. So really, that's how you play this character, is you move around a lot, you throw S1, and you're just really mobile. Her down S1 is this like delayed projectile. So you, like, let's say they're running away from you, or you need to press the advantage and you're full screen, you can just press down S1 and then use it to run in and take some initiative, right? Against a good opponent, this is going to be hard to get off, but against someone that's running away, or like, you know, you do a really good job of like forcing or like controlling space, throw it down S1 when you get a little space, use that to go in, and then you get a mix up. So this down S2, pretty good mix up tool. Yes, it's a 32 frame overhead, but it baits throws. So you can mix up between either dash up throw or dash up overhead. That grants you a full combo on the hit. And even on block, you get to do a mix-up, which is pretty unique from other overheads. A lot of overheads in this game, it's usually their turn after you block. Ahri can continue the mix-up solo. And there's some pretty nice stuff you can do. So for example, you can like just do a heavy throw, or you can do like a double overhead, right? You can do medium into low. You can do double overhead. I can do heavy and then another overhead. This S2 in the air is also an overhead. All right, so I was gonna recommend a Ahri BNB to you guys, but apparently they're all really hard. So the easiest thing I found if you're a new player is just combo into this air JS2. If you put tear for direction, you see there I did forward JS2, back S2, and then neutral S2, and at least you can get a decent knockdown. There's some really good like more extensive combos, but they're all pretty hard, and if you're learning Ahri, I probably would recommend not starting with any of these because they are a little challenging to learn, but eventually you do want the additional corner carry and damage that you get from a extended route. Anyways, you should play Ahri if you're looking for a fast mobile character that can run away and also enforce some pretty cool mix-up. All right, Ekko, I think this is probably the coolest character in the game, and he has a lot of things that you can do with him. He's a very complex character, and the main reason for that is his time winder mechanic. So he has certain like moves that he leaves this like little shadow. The idea is that you can do another follow-up to his shadow, and depending on the follow-up, for example, my back S2, I just go into place. So for example, I could do stuff like this and then get like a really cute little, like I can go front side, or I can like, you see I can like change directions really quickly on them. Or you can do a follow-up like his down S2 that grants you a full combo. So because of this mechanic, there's a lot of tricky things you can do with him. Let's talk about the basics. With this character, the first thing you want to learn how to use is his S1. It's this little projectile, and the cool thing about this projectile, it stays out for a while. And the longer it stays out, so for example, like if I just hit them at the beginning, you just get a little hit. But if it stays out for a while, like for example, if they happen to run into it, you get this like little time suspension, and this grants you a combo. So basically the game plan with them is throw a lot of S1. Hope they run into it, and then run up and get a combo. He also has some really cool things you can do with the down S1. So for example, you can actually hit it. So down S1 pops them up. You can do heavy punch, it hits them, and yeah, with the right spacing, you get a combo. But outside of that, his neutral's not the best, right? So compared to, you know, characters like Darius or Illaoi, who have these really far-reaching normals and do a bunch of damage off them, you have kind of puny sword normals. Like, this is a decent sword normal, don't get me wrong, but it's not like some of the other characters. Or even compared to someone like Vi, who can just skip neutral with forward advancing moves. You know, you don't quite have that. Or for example, Ahri, who you can just run away. You don't quite have that either. So really, you're using these to get them to sit still and then run up and do some pretty decent mix. And I think if you're looking for another character that has a lot of mix-up, Ekko might be for you. Not only does he have one of the fastest overheads in the game at 22 frames, and generally a really easy way to combo after an overhead is just, yeah, do overhead, call assist, this grants you a combo into whatever. But he has some other ways to do mix-up. For example, he can do this charge S1 that only leaves him at -1. Which you'd be like, oh no, it's not my turn after this. Or I can like try to take my turn doing a roll. This roll, only 28 frames, so you can try to sneak in a throw, or you can try to sneak in additional pressure, or you could try to do roll into a follow-up. A lot of cool things you can do. So this character, I think, has probably the highest skill cap of any character in the game because he just has so many different options. Adding to that high skill cap is one of the coolest supers in the game. It's his S2 super grants you basically unlimited clones for the duration. As you can imagine, the possibilities are almost endless with this character. And I'm not an Ekko main, so I'll have to farm out some of the cool stuff you can do to Twitter. So literally, I can just open the first Twitter post I see. Some of these Ekko combos are super sick. And you can kind of just go in and yeah, you see the idea. Use the blitz restand, go for a double cross up, and go for this route. This is the route I see a lot of Ekko players going for nowadays. And yeah, the amount of freedom you have with this character is crazy. All right, here's the homie Ringe showing off some cool like knockdown situations you can do with the character. See, like, come on. Yeah, you need a lot of creativity with the character, and people are still finding stuff. Even though he's a harder character, you can still play him in a very basic way, right? I can still probably beat most of the players just going around, throwing S2, getting a block string, going to overhead, and doing good mix-up, right? So don't be discouraged that even though this character has a lot of potential on the high end, you can still play him in a pretty basic way. To play Ekko, if you're looking for a character with as much freedom as you can get in this game, a high skill cap, and really good mix-up. The Jinx is the traditional zoner of the game. You want a character that can throw rockets full screen. You want a character that can set up traps. You want a character that can do cool things with those traps. Jinx is for you. Now, zoning in this game, as you'll find out, is actually a lot harder than you might think, because this seems pretty oppressive if you're a new player, but it turns out a lot of things just go right through projectiles. For example, Illaoi has this forward S1, her tentacle swing move that destroys projectiles. You have moves that literally go through projectiles, like Vi's dash. So zoning in this game is a lot harder than you might think, because you have to take into all those things into account. But when you do, this character's freaking cool. This is another Super cool character, and she's actually one of the characters I'm considering playing on my main team. Let me just show you a couple neat things she can do. The part of what makes this character cool is she has this down S1, which summons this like little monkey thing, and her forward S1 that summons this little chomper. And you can do things like hit the chomper and hit the monkey, and they do different things. For example, if I shoot a rocket into them, they go forward more, and they give you a lot more pressure. Here's an example sequence. If you press like the medium, you can like electrify the monkey. See if I can get it. And I can explode the monkey and now be in their face. There's a lot of possibilities with this character, a lot of freedom with the character. And that's part of what makes her hard, but part of what makes her fun. The other thing that stands out is she has this S2. She has this little meter that's refilling. As gradually it refills over time, that gives her access to an additional special move, her back S2. And it's this like electricity. That doesn't seem that strong. But the idea is a lot of her zoning doesn't really convert, right? So like, let's say I get this gun. That's all I get. Like I get a little damage. Yes, I can like tack on her S2 super. It's like this beam super, it goes full screen. It's really strong. I think this super is very good because you can just use it to like snipe out assist calls and stuff. But you don't really get that much. And that's where her back S2 comes into play. That's where this electricity meter comes into play. So if I do something like gun into rocket into back S2, they're electrified, and then you can get a combo. The actual combo you do run up launcher into whatever, but it enables her combo conversions. It also goes through other projectiles. So let's say opposing Jinx is zoning you out, you can do back S2 and you can go through her projectiles. She has this rocket launcher. You can go from like left to right. So you can do like really cool, tricky mix-ups. Like you can do a block string into the rocket launcher and then go for like go for re-jump pressure. You can also do rocket launch into a falling skybones. So skybones is this move. It's this rocket. He says skybones. If you time it correctly, again, very hard to do, but it'll hit them standing. So you can zone really well with that. Use that zoning to set up these. Use that to go in and get a mix-up. Her mix-up's actually pretty decent. She has a overhead. This is 25 frames. I think this is kind of hard to see because the startup's a little disguised, and importantly, she can combo solo from it, right? You can even use this rocket launcher to make you fall at a different angle, and then you get even lower to the ground skybones. So this character can do a lot of cool stuff, but a lot of it's really technical. The other thing that I think a lot of people might struggle with as new players is a lot of characters you can end the combo in like a hard knockdown or like a knockdown that leaves them on the ground. Because you see most of Jinx's combos, like even a really basic one like this, leaves them in the air, which means that they can like tech at you and you're forced to like anti-her and play that game. It's a little tricky to deal with, but she's still really, really strong because she has these strengths. Another thing that makes her really good, her assists I think are insane. So you get this chomper for the assist. It kind of controls the screen, it explodes, and she can do, she has her rocket assist, which I think potentially might be one of the best assists in the game because it goes full screen and grants you a combo or block pressure when it connects to the opponent. So play Jinx if you're looking for a zoner character that can do a lot of really cool things. All right, last character is Yasuo. He's a character that I think he's just very well-rounded. If you're looking for a well-rounded character, you have good normals, you have good ways to zone, you have good ways to anti-zone, right? You have really cool combos, a lot of cool things you can do with the character. Yasuo might be for you. I think of it as a really well-rounded character. And the reason I say that is, one, he has one of the best anti-zoning moves in the game. It's called Wind Wall. So if Jinx does a projectile, the Wind Wall destroys it, which already changes the dynamic of some matchups. The cool thing is you can do different follow-ups into the Wind Wall. So for example, if I do S1, it does this full screen pierce. If I do S2, it gives you like this little tornado. I can do stuff like air S2. I can control space. I can do falling S2. As you can see, like I can like change my jump arc. There's a lot of good things you can do in neutral. Not to mention just dashing up and pressing this button is pretty good for the character. But you would be asking, okay, that seems like a pretty basic game plan. run around, press normals, and if I get the space, do a wind wall and do stabby thing. That seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, the thing that makes them hard is combos and pressure. The cornerstone of that is this down S1. This down S1 is the stance, which means if I do down S1 and I press a different follow-up, I can do different things. So for example, if I press down S1 light, I get the stomp that hits off the hot opponents on the ground. If I press this medium, I get like a combo launcher. If I press heavy, I get this full screen swipe. Doesn't seem that bad, but things get a little tricky after that. For example, I can do the full screen swipe and then stance cancel it again. So a lot of this combo is your stance cancel, doing stuff like dash. Yeah, you can cancel the stance into dash. There's a lot of neat things you can do with the character. His mix-up is also really good. For example, he has forward S1 that leads into some pretty nice block pressure. But you can hold forward S1 and this hits cross up. At minus 36, that seems pretty bad. But of course, just like everything else, you can stance cancel it and continue the mix up. He also has ways to mix up with just stuff like this, where you can do a block string, stance cancel, and then go for another cross up. You see, I'm pretty slow at this, but the really good Yasuo players, they can do these things very, very fast. So if I do stance S2, I actually get a jump. And you can see I can do like pretty cheeky stuff, like, yeah. So you can do stuff like this for a triple overhead, and then you can like keep yourself safe. Yeah. All right, there you go. That's a double mix up, right? One, there's an overhead, and then two, this move crosses up. That took me like 10 minutes to get. So I think you understand this character has a lot of potential. He's very well rounded, a lot of good mix up, a lot of cool stuff you can do as a stance cancels, but he's quite hard. And for the record, he's not honest. I think this character is actually insane. He just takes a lot of work to get to. But because I can't do this character justice, let's farm a little Twitter. Just to show you how insane some of this stuff get. This is Cloud 805. Even Cloud's talking about how hard it is, and he's been playing this character for God knows how long, right? So a lot of these are like cancels and moves, dash cancel. He can also do this thing where he can combo multiple supers. Yeah, you get the idea. But to sum up Yasuo, play him if you want a character that is very well rounded, but has a ton of technical depth at the highest level. Because even some of those combos is not just canceling the stance, the fact that you have to dash a little bit and then do the move. So what does the final chart look like? Well, I think we basically went in order, right? The thing about Braum, it's kind of weird putting him here, because I think these two characters, Illaoi and Darius, I think you can play them solo pretty easily. I think Braum, he's not meant to be played solo. Please do not play Braum solo. You're gonna have a very bad time. But if you're playing, if you just want like another teammate to kind of fill out your roster, Braum's a pretty easy one to just kind of like fit them in. I think you could also argue that Blitz is easy, but I think learning some of the stuff with him is a little tricky, like learning how to do the good mix up, learning the restands with the back assist. I think really to get the most out of Blitz, you want to be doing that stuff. And he's all, like Braum, he's kind of hard to play solo. And then Ahri I'll put here. Ahri, I think her game plan is pretty obvious, but her combos are a little tricky. Same thing with Vi, pretty decent game plan, but kind of tricky combos. And then you get the characters here that have a very in-depth game plan, take a lot of time to master. I'll put them on the harder end. But I leave this spot here intentionally. Do not play if you're new. I recommend you play whoever you want. Again, these characters, even in the harder tier, you can have a very basic game plan and just stick to that game plan and then learn the harder stuff later on. You don't need to learn all the technical stuff, right? You don't need to, you know, learn this time winder loops with Ekko or learn all the crazy stance cancels with Yasuo. You just need to learn a very basic game plan, and you can do that with any character in this game. My other recommendation is that playing a solo fuse, I think, is a really good idea when you're first learning the character. My basic strategy to teach anyone new is make it easy as possible so you can get into playing matches and you're not stuck in training mode, which means pick a character, learn a few really basic things, go online, get your ass kicked, and then figure out what you need to lab from there. And the easier you can do that, the better time you'll have. One other thing I forgot to include in that video: who should I team these characters with? honestly, people are new at this game. People are still finding out synergies. There's a lot of strategies to be found in this game. I honestly think in this game, because things are so new, pick the 2 characters you like the most. Yes, I think some characters are gonna like team well with other characters, but really we just don't know. Really, it's gonna come down to like specific synergies, usually for like combos or for like for example, like Blitz, make sure you can get like damage off his command grab, you know, that sort of thing. And I don't think we're gonna know that until much later down the road. So pick who you like. And if you're not a top player, it doesn't really matter if the team has synergy or not, because the way they designed this game is that most teams seem to have some sort of synergy no matter who you play. What fuse is the easiest? What fuse should you start off with? I think Juggernaut and Sidekick are both the easiest because you only have to learn 1 character. I think they're probably equally difficult in terms of, you know, not that difficult because you only have to learn 1 character. Juggernaut has some specific mechanics you have to get used to, while Sidekick, you do get to learn like assists and that sort of thing. My basic recommendation for beginners right now is Sidekick, because you get used to how to call assist and that sort of thing, and I think it's a little better, to be honest. And then after that, I think it's definitely Double Down. Double Down is the easiest if you have 2 characters, because you don't have to do anything special. You just mash a super after. And Freestyle and 2x assist are probably the hardest. 2x I think is a little easy, because a little easier than Freestyle, because you can just mash both assists right after another, where Freestyle you have to like have really good sequencing to make the most of it. So the list would be something like easiest is Juggernaut and Sidekick, medium is Double Down and 2x assist, and then hardest would be Freestyle. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'll catch you on the next one, and subscribe if you want to see more about 2x Go.